This is going to be a fun one today. I have said in the past that if I was a young man in my 20s, which I am not, and I was completely single, which I am not, and didn't have any kids, which I am not, I have 2 kids, then the one place that I would go to build my fortune and I would make millions of dollars very quickly would be Africa. And in this video, I'm going to go over exactly which countries I would consider moving to and what I would do in these countries in terms of making my fortune. And I promise you that several of you in my audience will become multimillionaires from the information in this video. I'm not kidding. I mean that. I know this for a fact. I know this. I know that 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm gonna get an email from some of you younger guys and you'll say to me, I watched that video you did on YouTube about moving to Africa and building my fortune, and I did it, and today I'm a multimillionaire. Thank you, Caleb. That's how cool this video will be for some of you. This is Sovereign CEO, and I am Caleb Jones, and I show people just like you how to create location-independent businesses, move to a less bad country, or at least set up an international backup plan, and do all of those things for very little money. And if you want a place that is pretty cheap to live, it's Africa. Now, is Africa an easy place to live in? No. That's why I would only do this if I was a young man. At my age, I'm about to turn 50, I have no interest in roughing it that much in terms of living in Africa or spending several years of my life in Africa. But if I was 22, 26, 29, maybe 30, 31, I would be there. And I'd make a lot of money because Africa is the lowest place in the world economically. And when you are that low, you have only one direction to go, and that is up. And over the past several years, there has been massive economic growth and massive growth in standard of living in terms of what we call the bottom billion people in the world. There's a lot less world poverty as compared to several decades ago, and this trend is going to continue and accelerate. And the countries that are going to take the most advantage of this over time is going to be African countries. Now, that doesn't mean there are countries in Southeast Asia that will explode economically. They will too. There's a few countries in South America that will explode economically, like Colombia. They will too. But Africa is unique in that there's opportunity there for a young, driven entrepreneur who doesn't mind roughing it for a few years. That's the first reason. The second reason is, and I've discussed this before, in our lifetimes, there will be individual cities in Africa that will have over 80 million people. The population growth in Africa is exploding unlike anywhere else in the entire world. White people are dying out, largely. Matter of fact, I just saw a report that in the United States, there are more women over the age of 30 with no kids than who have kids. Yeah, so white people's long-term future is a little shaky. But in terms of Africans, they are a humping and a pumping down there, and they are reproducing like we have never seen before, literally in all of human history. You're going to have massive, massive population growth in many African cities, and that means more opportunity for you as the independent, location-independent, hardworking, outside-the-box entrepreneur. So what would I do if I was 26 years old and I wanted to make this transition to Africa and build my fortune in Africa? What countries would I move to? Well, there's a lot of countries in Africa, 50, 60 countries, and it's hard to generalize about all these countries. Some of these countries would be good places to go. Some of these countries would be bad places to go. What I will do now is I will list the countries that I think are good countries for economic development for the young Western entrepreneur who wants to start a business while living in one of these countries. I do not have the time here today to do a deep dive on every one of these countries. I'm just going to skim through them very quickly. I'm also not saying these countries are perfect. I'm sure I'm going to list these countries and I'm sure I'm going to get 1 or 2 people in the comments who say, why would you recommend that country? That country's a shithole. Yeah, I'm not saying they're perfect countries. I'm saying these are the countries that I would look at in terms of moving to build my fortune as a young Western entrepreneur. And they are listed in no particular order. First one is Morocco. Probably one of my favorites. Morocco is going to do very well and is already doing, in many respects, very well right now. The next one is Egypt. And Egypt, you have to be a little careful. There are some dangerous areas of Egypt. So if you move to Egypt, make sure you understand the geography and where to live and where to not live and where to not travel. The next one is Ghana. Not much to say about that. I think that's a decent country to try. The next one is Nigeria. And this is probably my favorite country of all of them on this list. This is one of those countries that's going to have explosive population growth. In our lifetimes, you're going to have individual cities in Nigeria. They're going to have 60 million people, 80 million people, maybe even 100 million people in our lifetimes. Huge population explosion there. Big opportunity there for an entrepreneur. The next one on the list is Ethiopia. And Ethiopia is interesting because Ethiopia is the only country in Africa that has always been an independent nation. Just about every other country in Africa at one point was owned by a Western power, and Ethiopia has a very unique history. Other countries are Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Namibia, Botswana, and maybe the Seychelles. That's an island nation, slightly different category. I'm not 100% on that, but possibly that might work. And that's it. Those are the countries that I would look at in terms of relocating and starting a business in. Matter of fact, if you want more detail on how to set up a location-independent business so you can go wherever you want, and it doesn't matter where you are because the income keeps coming in, you should go to locationIbusiness.com. That is where you can get the Alpha 2.0 business course that shows you exactly how to start your own location-independent business from scratch, step by step, even if you've never started a business before in your life. Now, those are the countries that I recommend. Let me talk briefly about the countries I do not recommend. I do not recommend any countries that are overly dangerous. And there, unfortunately, is a bunch of those in Africa. To name just a few of those, you've got Somalia, you've got Congo, you've got Mali, you've got countries like the CAR, the Central African Republic. Those kind of countries I would avoid because you probably don't want to get shot or chopped to death by a machete. Probably not a good idea, so I would avoid those countries. The other countries I would avoid are those countries in Africa that are collapsing. And there is definitely one of those, that is South Africa. And I wouldn't say this about South Africa 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They looked like they might be doing some good things in that country, but lately that country has done literally everything wrong, and that country is in very, very big trouble. It is just yet another one of these Western or quasi-Western, in this case, collapsing Western countries doing everything wrong. So I do not recommend going to South Africa because that's not really what I would consider to be growing Africa. Nothing wrong with visiting South Africa. Matter of fact, South Africa is on my list as one of the countries I want to visit as soon as I can. It's a cool place to visit. I just wouldn't relocate there to start a business to take advantage of economic growth in Africa. Now, what would I do once I relocated to this hypothetical African country? Well, before I get into that, you should subscribe to this channel. You should like this video. You should click the dumb notification bell, and you should leave a comment on this video. Doesn't matter what you say. The more algorithm stuff I get on these videos, the more these videos I will produce for you for free, so you're only helping yourself. So what kind of business would I start to make my millions in Africa? Well, you have a decision to make. Do you start an Alpha 2.0 location-independent business and somehow leverage the growth in Africa? Or do you start a location-independent business where you sell to non-Africans and take advantage of the low prices in Africa while you research and look at your options in Africa? Or do you violate the Alpha 2.0 model a little bit and maybe start a location-dependent business inside Africa, marketing to the Africans you live in your city? Any of these is viable if you're willing to spend several years in Africa. What I would probably do is start a location-independent business but selling to Africans. And that way I could take advantage of the African growth, take advantage of the opportunities in Africa, but I wouldn't be locked into any individual city in case I had to move or relocate. And of course, I'm probably, even if I'm 26 years old, I'm probably not gonna live in Africa for the rest of my life. I'm probably gonna be there for a few years, make my fortune, get the hell out. And then if I'm location dependent, that money will keep coming in even though I don't live in Africa anymore. Pretty smart. What kind of business would I start in Africa? Well, you could start any business that would take advantage from population growth. It could be food, clothing, and any of those boring type of businesses will benefit from any of these cities with exploding population growth. However, what I would do, and what I think is much better, is I would start a business relating to infrastructure, because Africa has the worst infrastructure in the world, and so it can only go one direction, and that is up. So what do I mean by infrastructure? Anything having to do with water, water reclamation systems, water purification systems. Matter of fact, that's probably what I would do. I would probably do something related to water in Africa. Boy, is that a huge opportunity in Africa. I mean, in much of the world, but certainly in Africa by far. Another area of infrastructure would be cell phones or any wireless technology, Wi-Fi technology, satellite-based technology. Huge opportunity for that as Africa grows. Another one would be electricity, maybe even construction or construction materials. Again, anything related to infrastructure. Internet would be another one. Internet connectivity. It could be wired internet, but a better one would be wireless internet, because likely what's going to happen to Africa is what happened to China in the 90s. So if you weren't aware what happened there, in terms of communication technology and communication access, China matched the United States within 10 years, even though it took the United States many decades to get to that point because the United States had to bury cables and put cables all over its country. Well, China, when cell phones came out, embraced wireless technology and basically got on par with the United States, even though it took the United States much longer. So that's likely going to happen to Africa. You're going to have a lot of people, I mean, it's happening now. A lot of internet infrastructure, a lot of commerce done over wireless technology, so you don't have to build any internet cabling, Ethernet cabling, fiber cabling. Just use all Wi-Fi and you skip that process. That's what I would do, and I would do very, very, very well. Matter of fact, I'm a little sad that I'm a little too old to do this because, like I said, some of you guys are going to take the advice of this video and some of my blog articles and things like this where I've talked to this before, and you're going to run with this and you're going to make a lot of money. So if that's you, if you're a young guy, or maybe not even a young guy, just a guy that has no, life overhead, like a wife, girlfriend, children, or what have you, and you can just relocate to Africa for a few years and you don't mind roughing it for a while, strongly recommend you give this a shot. And if that's you, do it. Get on this. This is a perfect time to do this. Now, if you have trouble swallowing the concept of living in a country where the government does evil things, you need to watch this video right now. I'm serious. Watch that video so you can get over that false societal programming, and I will see you in the next video.